welcome to my studio. I'm Jessie and this is the Knit Up and Dye podcast, episode 55, Blame It on Someone. It has been a busy week and I've got a lot done, so as always I have my cheat sheet so that I can remember everything I want to talk to you about and everyone I want to thank. Again, I have new subscribers. Thank you all for adding me to your lives. It means the world to me when I get that little email that says, so-and-so subscribed. Thank you. I love it. And I want to make sure that you all know how much I love hearing from you, getting your questions, your comments, your very warm birthday wishes. Thank you very much. I got lovely messages this week. So special thanks and hello and welcome go out this week to We Are V2, Angela. This name is hard and I'm sure I'm gonna mess this up. Sushin, Deborah, Pamela, Swati, Sarah, Rosalie, Tarana, Nitsi, and Linda. You guys are wonderful. Thank you. I'm so sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. I don't mean to. I simply am not familiar with your name. Feel free to send me a message and educate me. Teach me how to say your name properly. I would love to get that. Special love and thanks, as always, go out to Vashon, Marie, Bex, Wheezy, Cindy, Charlotte, Chris, Roseanne, Linda, Leanne, Eve, David, Donna, Betty Ann, thank you, Scott and John, Carolyn, Kate, Terry and Mitch over at Unwound, Nancy and Rachel. You guys are wonderful. Thank you so much. Your love and your support mean everything to me. In we go. I got a lot of knitting done this week, but some things are still camping. The 5-hour hat design is camping. It's a yet unnamed pattern. It is a short row hat. I will get to it eventually. I do want to get that done. Eve, it will be done definitely during the warm months, so it'll be very inconvenient to knit. But the southern hemisphere will be really excited to get my pattern. I do have a bad habit of getting most of my patterns out at the wrong time of year. And Eve mentioned it in her podcast the other day. I'm very addicted to your podcast, by the way, Eve. And it's just funny. It's when I knit in the winter. That's when my design mind is on. And by the time things get tested and done and out to the public, the warm weather has come on and you're not so inclined to knit a hat. But it'll be there for you in the fall when you're ready. The farmhouse shawl is also camping, and 3 people just went, why? Because I know you're waiting for it. No, it's camping because the yarn that it was initially knit in was more of a hand spun, and so the weight of it was not a true commercial weight. The end product is beautiful. I love that shawl very much so, but I need to reknit it and recalculate my gauge so that I am sure that it is in a commercially available yarn that anybody can reproduce those results, and that's important. I don't want to put a pattern out there that has a yarn weight that's between 2 yarn weights and nobody's ever happy with it because it's too stiff or it's too light. I got lucky with this one. I came up with a gauge that I liked for the yarn that I had, and I really need to reproduce it in a more standardized weight. So there's a delay on that. The good news is I'll be very familiar with the pattern by the time I have it ready for test knitters. What have I been knitting? I knit a lot. I knit a lot this week. And I have many people to thank and to blame for that. My knitting this week. I have been working on my waffle socks. I showed you guys these socks last week. And I'm knitting it from a sock blank by Three Sister Fiber Co. This is what remains of my blank. Is this yarn beautiful? I love this. I did weigh it when I got close to done on the first sock because this scared me. This looks short. This does not look like it would make a sock that would go around my foot. I have enough. I think, I hope. Ooh. The first sock is done. I finished my sock. Ta-da! I'm improvising it as I go along. If you have questions about it, feel free to message me. I'm more than happy to give you what I did so that you can reproduce it. I basically did 20 rows of a 1x1 rib. Then I went down into a 2x2, kind of a basket weave stitch, kind of a waffle stitch, where I did knit 2, purl 2 for 5 rounds. And then I changed it to purl 2, knit 2 for 5 rounds. And I went back and forth between those two, and it made this lovely texture. Very happy with it. Top down, I did a slip stitch heel flap. I did a twisted slip stitch just because I wanted a higher texture. Then when I did my gusset, which I picked up repeatedly, I talked to you guys about that last time, I did a 1x1 rib gusset. It's just a technique that I like for my gussets. Then I went back into stockinette, bottom of the foot, kept the waffle pattern going to the end, and at the end I did a linen stitch toe where I slipped the stitches with the yarn in front, every other stitch, every other row, and it makes this lovely textured toe. Clearly, I was all about texture on this. I just really wanted to have fun with texture and enjoy the yarn as it was happening, the color changes and everything in it. Really, really beautiful yarn. Fun to knit. I enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to doing the second one. So much so that I'm through the cuff and I'm starting on my little waffle texture on the second sock. And this is traveling with me. This is part of my goes to work with me. I work on it during my commute travel bag. My travel bag, is a project bag by Knitting with Attitude. Donna, I love this bag. I've shown you this before. It has a big pocket in one side and it's got, I mean, obviously a lot of space. I'm actually carrying 2 sock projects in this, complete with pattern. I have my waffle socks on one side and then I have my coexist socks on the other. And I have my first coexist sock in here and done. And I carry my first sock with me when I'm working on my second socks as a reference. Sometimes it's easier for me to just count the repeats of a pattern and knit the same thing than it is to follow notes, or I'm really good at reading my knitting. That, and I knew what I loved about this and what I wanted to carry over into my waffle socks. I did that same slip stitch toe as part of the coexist socks, and I wanted to bring that over. I just thought that was so pretty and nice, stable, sturdy. I like that toe. I like that toe. I'm likely to do that toe a lot. And just easier for me to count the reps on this than it was to fight with the pattern. So this was stalled. I wanted to do the Chinese waitress cast on. Again, I'm having a love affair with the Chinese waitress. It's so elastic. I love it, and it goes right back beautifully. Whereas others have a tendency, once they stretch out, to stay stretched out. The Chinese waitress stretches and rebounds beautifully. Got through the cuff and have started down onto the leg pattern, and I'll show you what that leg pattern looks like. It's really pretty. The Coexist pattern is by Claire Ellen. It is a free download on Ravelry. And it is fun, fun, fun. I've talked to you guys a lot about this pattern. The particular choices I've made have this being a little bit of a challenge for my commute knitting, just because there's a lot of twisted stitches. And I got some wonderful tips from Carolyn about some clever ways to do the twisted stitches that I haven't tried yet, and I have a little bit of guilt about that because really I could use those tips, I'm quite sure. I will get to that. That needs to be my goal this week. I need to print that off, I need to put that in this bag, and I need to carry those tips with me and see if I can give that a try. Anywho, Coexist pattern is a pick your path kind of a pattern where you get to pick which chart you want to do for your sock for each stage of the sock, and I'm talking every stage of the sock. Great fun. Highly recommend it. Really highly recommend it. There are aspects to some of it that I find a little bit challenging just because I'm out of habit. I like a challenging pattern. I like twisted stitches. I love cables. I just am not in the habit of doing it in the car or reading the charts. I'm used to my own charts. I'm used to working. I've done a lot of garter stitch patterns lately. I've done a lot of stockinette stitch patterns, and I'm just out of the habit. So this has been good for me. It's really exercised my brain and kept me back on track and active again. So I have 2 sock patterns I'm working on, and I'm on the 2nd sock of each. And again, I carry this with me. This is my lunch break at work. I have an hour-long lunch break. It doesn't take me an hour to eat lunch. It takes me an hour to decompress and get ready to face the second half of my day for sure. Knitting really gives me that solitude, that comfort, a moment to just be grateful and quiet, and get my head completely out of my job and into something fun that I enjoy. So I carry it with me. My husband and I commute back and forth to work together. That's been a challenge lately. I live on the west side of town. I work on the east side of town, and we have a river that divides them. There are exactly 4 ways across the river. 2 of those ways are 4-lane roads. One of the ways is a 6-lane highway, and one of the ways is an 8-lane highway. Unfortunately, there has been construction on 2 of the ways across the road, and the river, forgive me, and there has been a lot of accidents lately. And with the construction that's happening in town, with the construction that's happening on the few ways across the river, our 17-mile commute has taken us as long as an hour and a half. That's good for my knitting. It's not good for our stress level. So clearly, I got some knitting done. It gives me peace. It sets me up for the day. Johnny usually drives the morning trek into town, and I drive the trek home. So every morning, I'm not a morning person. It gives me an opportunity to slowly warm up and get my head in gear and get moving so that by the time I get to work, I'm ready to problem solve. And I love that opportunity. I am so grateful to my husband that he suggested this, that I knit during our commute, and I'm so thankful for that man. He's wonderful. He is wonderful. So, socks. What else have I been knitting? Reach for the next bag. I have been working on my Venetian Dream sweater, and I'm pretty sure I worked on this week. I think I made really big progress. I haven't touched it in the last couple of days. I did. I made huge progress. I think I did. Or did I talk to you guys about this last week? So here's where my progress marker is. Here's what I have done. It looks to be about 4 inches there. I think I'm just an instruction away from splitting the hem. Maybe I talked to you guys about this last week, and I didn't get anything done on this. I don't know. I really don't know. I'll have to check my records. Why don't I move my progress marker right now, and that way next week I won't tell you I made progress I didn't. There it is. It's in place. I thought I worked on this. I think I worked on this. I love this sweater. Anyway, so this is Venetian Dream by Josie Paquin, and I'm using some yarn that I got on my trip back to Maine, and it is getting to be a full-size sweater. It has lace detail on the hem, front and back, and on the sleeves. It's she's wonderful. I love her designs. Her work is beautiful. Her patterns are well written. Let me show you the pattern real quick. This is a pay-to-play. It is available on Ravelry. And like I said, I am just above where the hem splits. and then I'll go a little bit and then down into the lace detail, and I'm very excited to do that. I think that the lace detail is going to be really pretty in this yarn. It's subtle and simple enough that I don't think that the variegated colors are going to drown the lace. Unfortunately, with some variegated yarns, when you try to do lace in them, the lace is just gone. It's drowned. I think this is going to survive nicely. Either way, I'm far enough into the sweater that I'm not going to stop because of it. It'll have lace in it whether I like it or not. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be lovely, and I'm looking forward to having a lightweight sweater to wear, because I swore I'd never make another fingering weight sweater, and here I am, 3/4 of the way through. I also put a square on my How to Eat an Elephant blanket. Pardon me. I'm not making fast progress on this, but I'm making progress, and that's all that matters. I really wish I had more time to work on this more, but every little bite counts. And that's why I call this the How to Eat an Elephant blanket, because how to eat an elephant? One bite at a time, and I'm working on this one square at a time. I got this little square right here done, and I have 3 on this side of this column, ta-da, and then on this end I have 2 on this row that I've gotten done. So I'm working it from both ends. Normally I don't do that. Normally I finish a whole row or I finish a whole column. This particular thing, I had a yarn that I wanted to add to it, and I didn't like how it was laying out on where it was going to land next on here, so I just started at the other end. You can do your blanket any way you choose. This is how I choose mine. I'm very excited about it. It is 1/4 of the way done. I have a lot more work to do on it. It occurred to me the other night that this is supposed to be some, I think I am aiming for 576 squares or some number in around there. I have some ends woven in, and then I have an awful lot of ends that aren't woven in. Every square has 4 ends. I'm not a huge fan of weaving in ends. I'm not sure why I've undertaken this. I don't mind weaving in ends, but it's one of those activities that I'm a binge weaver. So at some point in the near future, I suspect I'll be pulling out my needle and I will binge weave in a whole big section of this and feel like I'm making even more progress. It's funny though, I feel like I'm making more progress when I knit a square and leave 4 ends hanging than when I sit down and I weave in 60 ends. Maybe only because I feel like I'm only making progress when it grows. I don't know. I don't know. But I did a square, my blanket grows. I also cast on a project this week, because that makes sense when you have a million other projects going on, to cast on something to just do. And I blame my friend Carolyn for this. I've been blaming Carolyn all week. In fact, I've started a hashtag I blame Carolyn. She knit one of, I'm looking for the pattern, that's why I'm cranking on my head around here. She knit one of these. It is the Adventurous Wrap by Amba O'Brien. It is a pay-to-play. It is available on Ravelry. It is lovely. She did this as an Advent project with minis. Here's a higher contrast picture so you can kind of see what happens. It's a brilliant construction. It's basically 2 triangular shawls that you seam together, and you get this long rhombus wrap that you can do anything with color-wise, anything. If I had a million minis, if I had gradients, I would probably, I might knit this differently. But I don't have those. I have big full skeins, and so I went stash diving because I just loved the look of this. And it's a nice, easy pattern. garter, mindless, beautiful. I bought the pattern because I loved Carolyn's, and then I went stash diving and I came up with 6 skeins of yarn. 2 of them are the same colorway, and I assigned them colors because this pattern actually uses, one of them uses 25 minis, 25 colors. Yeah, there's like 23 colors in one version. 25, it's an advent calendar. My head is not screwed on. 25 colors. I opted not to do that. I decided to make it a little bit simpler. I don't have the minis to do that. I know I'm a yarn dyer, the excuses I make. I have a lot of stash, and stash that I really want to use. Stash that has been sitting around waiting for the perfect project, and I'm tired of waiting for perfect projects. I need to start applying it to projects that I love, and if it's not the perfect project, then I'll buy more of the yarn. Or I'll rip it out and I'll do it again, who knows. But I did this stash dive and I found these 5 colors that, when I laid them all out, were beautiful together, really beautiful together. And this isn't really a fade. You can do it as a fade. I'm not doing it as a fade, but all the colors do incorporate. They do kind of lie together at one point or another, or the way I'm doing it, they all lie with the main color. So I assigned colors to these colors before I even really looked at how the pattern laid out. I just wung it. And I'm thrilled with how it's coming out. I'm thrilled with it. Now mind you, Tuesday, I wasn't thrilled with it Tuesday. Tuesday, I cast this thing on 5 times. 5. There were so many problems. Stupid little problems. Stupid little problems. One was I read the instructions incorrectly and had gotten almost 5 inches into this thing before I realized I'd read the instructions incorrectly. Took it out, cast it back on, had a problem with that, did it again, made the same mistake again, took it back out. I'm on track now, and I have been so addicted to this. I have just plowed through this. This is since Tuesday, and I'm going to try and hold it up. My needle is actually getting short. Oh, I remember one of the reasons I took it out was because I didn't like the gauge. The pattern has you using a size 5 fingering weight, and me in a 5 is a little cardboardy. I wanted a little bit more drape. I took it all out. Did I take it out before I realized that I didn't have a size 5 and a long enough needle and ordered a size 5 and a long enough needle? No. I have 5s now. I have a 47-inch 5, I have a 32-inch 5, and I have a 40-inch US 5 because I needed 5s in my life, and so I got a good deal on them at least. But now I have 3 US 5 circular needles that need a project. I'm using a 6. This is the Adventurous Shawl, sorry. And as far as I have gotten it thus far. And my colorways, I don't think I have all my labels with me. This one I believe is a Mad Tosh called Graphite, and I'm using this as my base color. I am also using, grab some labels, Supernatural Yarns, Shannon, I love her yarns. This colorway is, I cannot remember the name of the colorway. I will put it in here. Beautiful. I just love this color. There's golds and oranges and grays and browns in here. Just beautiful. I am also using, by Shannon Shaw, Supernatural Yarns, her Zen colorway. This one is a really warm taupe. And it is quite variegated. It doesn't look as variegated here as it really is. It's a tonal. It's very pretty. I'm also using from my stash, from Zen Garden, I have the Serenity Glitter Sock. It's a one of a kind. It's reds and browns and grays, and it does have some stellina in it. And from Zen Garden, another one of a kind I picked up. This is her Superfine Fingering, And this one has some blues, again some golds, some oranges, some grays, a little bit of yellow in it. And these all just marry together so beautifully. I am so in love with this project. I just keep knitting on it and knitting on it and knitting on it because I want to see how the next set of colors is going to lay out. And it's funny, when I hold this up to the camera, it looks much higher contrast than what I see when I'm working on it. The camera's picking it up really neat. I love the back side of it. I love the front side of it. I'm in love with this. And I've been using the hashtag I blame Carolyn all week. I blame Carolyn for the number of times I had to pick this up. I blame Carolyn for directing me to this beautiful project. I blame Carolyn for my joy and my pleasure in working on this. I just blame Carolyn for everything. And I am told that everybody blames Carolyn. Janet, I love you. You're made of evil. It's fantastic. So, who do you blame? Who do you blame for your joy? Who do you blame for your success? I blame my husband for many, many things. I blame Carolyn for many, many things. I'm sure you blame me for many, many things. I'm curious as to who you blame for the good things in your life. Because we shouldn't always blame bad things on people. Blame good things on people. That's what I've been knitting. I am planning to knit, like I said, the farmhouse shawl just because I want to get that in a more standardized yarn weight and really be confident that it's reproducible. What have I been designing? Not much, but I've been working on my designs. Bow truckle, you guys saw that hat. It is closed to test knitters. I have my last test knitter come on board today. Thank you guys so much. Cindy, your feedback has been fantastic. Wheezy, you do it in your own time. I don't care if it takes you the rest of your life. It'll be fine. Bex, you're so fast. You're so fast. And it came out so beautiful. Thank you for your help. Everyone that is working on this, your comments mean everything. And I want to remind my test knitters that they don't need to be nice. Polite is fine. But feel free to tell me I missed a comma. Feel free to tell me something is spelled wrong. Feel free to tell me that I can't count. Because every last thing that you and I fix on each pattern together makes it a success for the next person. And that's what is important here. And you guys are awesome. Awesome. I am looking for test knitters for the Madly Addicted to You cowl, and I just did photos of this today with my husband. It was freezing. It was freezing. It's funny, usually my designs are done in the warmer weather, and so I get to take the pictures of myself in my coat in August, pretending to be chilly, wearing a scarf. Today I was grateful to be wearing a cowl. It was about 10 degrees out, and it was barely windy. And I'm quite sure that my nose is very red in some of these photos. I haven't had a chance to edit them yet or add them to the pattern, but this was photographed this morning. Madly Addicted to You is part of my Addicted to You series. It is accomplished by holding 2 skeins of fingering together and working them as a single thread on like a size 7 needle. And the point of the patterns is to accomplish something with a lot of impact, whether it's color impact or design impact, with simple stitches. This entire pattern is knit with the stockinette side as your working side. And these wonderful fun fringes all happen and go to the back. You never have to purl to accomplish this. It's fun, and it's really, really warm. It's really warm. It's actually warmer with the fringe side turned in because it creates an air buffer between you and the fabric with all these little fringe between that trap all kinds of air. It was so nice and warm. We had done most of the photography with the fringe out because that's your impact. That's the stylish bit. And I wanted to photo it with the fringe in, with just a little bit of the fringe at the top curling over, for change in style, how you present yourself, how you choose to wear it. And as soon as we flipped it around so that I could show this side, which was toward the end of the photography, it was so nice and warm. I was like, why didn't we start with this one? Really beautiful. So, an I-cord cast on, an I-cord bind off. You work in the round, very simple pattern. If you are interested in test knitting this, please send me an email. Use the subject line test knitter. Let me know that you're interested in Madly Addicted to You, and I will get the pattern out to you. This one does take a little bit of time to knit, just because of the actual fringe. You don't realize that these are stitches as well. So we're probably going to have a little bit longer test knit on this. So you've got time. If you're interested, send me an email. I would love to get this out to you, and I'd love to start working with you. Coming. This design is coming. If you're not a test knitter, it's coming. What else did I do? So I did a little bit of design work, but the design work was not necessarily knitting or yarn. You all have seen my logo. My husband made my logo. My little monkey dancing in the dye. I just love him. And I have these pins. And the pins go out with orders. They go out on all my sock blanks. They go out with most of my orders. And I just got to thinking, yeah, I had people that comment that they love the pins and that they put them on their project bags. And I thought, well, nobody wants 5 of the same pin. Yeah, you can give them to other people, and I mean, he is a really cool monkey. But wouldn't it be fun to have other monkeys? And so I sat down and I designed other pins. And I came up with this guy. And this monkey's doing just kind of a handstand in the dye. And I came up with this guy. I love him. He's got a little bit of attitude. And so I had more pins made up. And if you are collecting monkey pins, there's more pins to collect. And I just think they're fun and it's exciting, and I love seeing project bags with pins on them, especially when they're yarn logos. That's just fun. I love the saying ones as well. Some people use them as badges, like if they do knit-alongs, and when they complete the knit-along, they have this pin that, you know, I completed this. Those are great. I've got a couple of those. I got one of them at Unwound, and that, what a sense of accomplishment you have when all of a sudden you've got like this badge that says I did something. And then I've got other fun ones that are like, keep your hands off my stash. I love that. I love that. So I'm joining into the pin collecting, and I'm adding my own little guy out into the world. So that's what I designed this week. What have I been dyeing? I dyed up yarn for the Let's Get Bubbly kits. This is the Let's Get Bubbly hat. It is a slouchy, big, oversized hat with the option of putting a palm on it, and it has baubles in it. This particular yarn colorway is called Northern Lights, and it takes 2 skeins to knit the hat. It is a long, slouchy hat. And this is what 2 skeins of Northern Lights looks like. Ta-da! I love this colorway. It just makes me think of the first time I saw the Northern Lights. I used to live in Maine, and it's not as dramatic there. It's rare that we get to see it, but when we do get to see it, it makes such an impact. And then, because not everybody wants a hat that's blue and teal green, I thought, how about I make another colorway to offer as the kit for the Let's Get Bubbly? And so I dyed up some of Strawberries Cantaloupe. I love this colorway too. I've done this in the past, and it has corals and peaches and oranges and strawberries and cherries. It's very fruity. It's very fruity. And the camera is blowing it out horribly. It looks kind of, it looks a little violent on the camera, I'm trying to see if there's any way to trick the camera into seeing the colors a little bit differently. It's a little bit softer, more pastel than what you might be seeing on your screen. But it gives you an option. So you could knit this hat in this colorway. I put the kits up in my Etsy shop, and already a couple of them have sold. You guys are fast. Which is a great point to remind you, I do still have that podcast coupon for my subscribers, for you guys watching me. It's good until the end of the month. If you want to snag one of these kits, pop on over there. The coupon code is here for you. Yay! There's a few of these kits left. If I have a lot of requests, I'll make more kits. And if you see a colorway on there that you would rather knit this in, let me know. I'll do a custom kit for you, happily. So that's what I've been doing. I also played around with a colorway that I have struggled with for years now. Let me grab a skein of it real quick to show you. I love the idea of this color. I don't love making this color. I have very limited success when I make this color, and a lot of it is I'm just refining my technique to get this. And I talk about this in a blog post, why it's so difficult. You've all seen Grello. Grello is gray and yellow together, and they can be the most beautiful color combination done right. Done wrong, you end up with a very sickly, horrible, weird green. I've done that many times. I've overdyed that many times. I think I finally have my technique down, and I made Finch. Finch is a Grello. It is a gray and yellow. This is a variegated. It came out really pretty, and I don't see any of those sickly green tones, and believe it, I really quality control investigated this. The reason that the green happens when you try to make Grello is because silver dye, black dye, is made up of multiple other dyes. There is no black. They're coming out with blacks and silvers now that are true blacks and silvers that are just a pigment. But most black and silver dyes are composites. They're made of other dyes mixed together to come up with a color that's so dark that you perceive it as black. If you look carefully at most black fabrics, you can see that it is either a red black or a blue black. And the same thing happens with the dye. You end up with a red black or a blue black. In this particular case, the silver that I've been using is a blue silver, and if you look carefully at it, you can see that it has blue undertones. Most silver is a blue undertone. It's easy to trick the eye into seeing silver when something is blue. When you mix yellow with blue, you get green. It's all about technique. It's all about your acidity level. It's about the order that you apply the colors in. It's about how much you let them mix, how set it is before you add the other color. Otherwise, they do bleed together and you do get this really nasty green. And it's a nasty green. It's not a nasty green that you could go, oh, that's pretty with. It's a nasty green. I feel really good about this. I played with this, and I feel like I finally came up with a Grello that I appreciate, I'm proud of, I enjoy it, I would knit this. And so Finch exists, and Finch is in the shop. And that was an accomplishment for me. There might be a couple other colorways in the shop that have some funky names that have a odd green undertone. They're beautiful. They're beautiful. I would not put it in my shop if I would not work with it myself. I am very, very particular about it. There are several skeins of yarn over in the pile of shame that I wouldn't sell because I do not find the colors appealing, attractive, redeemable in any way, shape, or form. And they're kind of waiting for a black overdye. That happens, and that's part of experimenting. That's part of stretching your boundaries and playing with color to see what does interact and what does mix, and pushing your techniques as well. If you're going into dyeing, if you're playing with dyeing, expect to have a few skeins that you hate. Just plan on it. Plan on having some yarn that is your playground, a place that you test things out on. I have a sock blank. I'm going to grab it for you. It's hideous. Hideous. When I'm testing sock blank techniques, I have one blank that I use as my testing ground over and over and over again. This sock blank has been dyed so many times. I'm actually starting to be concerned about how much dye, how many processes a yarn can take. It's been an interesting experience because I've learned that you can process a yarn repeatedly and it will hold up to it. This particular blank I use every time I try a new technique, whether it's airbrushing or stenciling, or I want to play with how much guar gum I'm putting in the dye to see if it's thick, if it'll run. Whenever I'm playing with a new chemical like a stabilizer, I grab this yarn blank. And it has been airbrushed and dip dyed, and it has been sprayed and handwritten on. It has been boiled, it's steamed and tie-dyed and twisted, and it is hideous. It is hideous. All these different techniques, I have dyed over it in a couple places, I have stenciled over it in a couple places, I have brushed over it in a couple places, I've tried colors out on it to see if I like the colors and how they intermingled. It's hideous. It's hideous. Have one of these. Have a skein or have a blank that you play with, that you use as your testing grounds. And know that as ugly as this is, I've learned stuff from it. And someday it will be tones of black with undertones of greens and browns and pinks and purples. And it will be the happiest pair of socks I ever knit, because it will be my accomplishment socks. It will be everything that I learned all in one place. It's important to do that. It's important to accept that there's going to be some loss, and to give yourself permission to have a throwaway, as it were, that you test things on. Otherwise, what'll happen, and has happened to me, especially in cases like this, you go headstrong into something, you get results you don't like, and you are disappointed because you don't have the end result that you wanted, and you feel like you've lost something, that it's not recoverable. All yarn is recoverable. You just have to appreciate knitting with black at some point, or very dark navy, or brown. A darker color will over dye, it will work, and you can recover everything. Like this will be black someday. Blame it on the dye, blame it on the Jess, blame it on your best friend, do good things. That's pretty much everything I have for you guys this week. I showed you lots of knitting, and I showed you a little bit of dyeing. I know a bunch of you, a lot of you messaged me this week about the farmhouse shawl. You like the shape, you want that design out. I'm working on it, guys, I'm sorry. I thought about punching up the pattern, and I got looking at that yarn, and I just knew that the gauge was going to cause problems for all of us going forward, because we weren't going to be able to get that same yarn. So we're going to do that in an industry standardized yarn, and we're going to love it. We're going to love it. I even might have dyed some yarn for it today, so it'll be beautiful. That's that. I want to extend a very, very special thank you to my patrons. You guys, you can't imagine how encouraging it is to get the email from Patreon that I have a new patron. It means everything to me. I'm very excited about the next month, because I have so many patrons, and we're going to do some drawings for patrons that are going to get prizes. We'll get some product going out to people, and that is wonderful. If you are not a patron yet and you have no idea what I'm talking about, please pop over to my Patreon page. There's no charge to look. It's a membership website where basically people sign up to provide me financial support to do what I do, like this podcast, or my design work, or my dyeing instruction, or my tutorials. And once I get to a certain level of patronage, I'm going to be able to film full-length classes where we sit down and we do a project together. We take a pattern and I teach you step by step, beginning to end, how to do that project. And I'm really excited about doing that. I've had a lot of people say that I should be teaching classes again, and I would love to, and I think that this is the best way to do it. There is still time. The way Patreon works is you sign up to be a patron. They charge your donation once a month, and they do it right at the beginning of the month. Based on that, and based on that every level I have set up for patronages has a reward. You have until the end of the month to sign up to get the next month's rewards. And each of my levels, like I said, has a reward, whether it's a pattern. Many of my rewards are drawings for yarn and patterns and goodies. Because that membership is still really low, you may be the only person in the drawing for the item. That's nice. It's a win-win. You also have the flexibility of deciding this month it's not for you, and you can pull back out. There's not a long-term obligation. You may choose to be a regular subscriber of it, or you may choose to make a one-time donation and get in there and get the prize. There is exclusive content up there. The first item of exclusive content, like I said, is the Let's Get Bubbly pattern. It is up there for my patrons. It will become available in September, I believe. But until then, go get it now. Go get it now for as little as $1. I want to really, really express my thanks to Neetsy, Charlotte, Chris, Roseanne, Linda, Eve, Donna, and Betty Ann. Thank you. You guys are amazing, amazing. And my husband wishes me to extend his thanks as well. He never imagined that I would be able to do this and be able to do this with the support of the community to this degree. Thank you. We are very excited. We are plotting and storyboarding how I'm going to do that class and thinking about what project we're going to do. He will be assisting with the filming. He's kind of excited about that. I'm a little bit nervous about that. If you have ever looked at any of the project photos, the pattern photos that we have, you'll often see that I either have a very reserved look on my face or I'm just barely on the edge of keeping it together. He loves to make me laugh. He is silly and fun and creative, and I'm not quite sure how the filming of this will go because he has a tendency to mumble things at me like, oh my God, don't smile, and make me just blow up in giggles. So there'll be a lot of takes, I suspect. Either way, it's going to be fun, and I'm excited to do this for you guys. I got so much feedback this past week on my podcast. Keep it coming. Thank you. And if there's something you want to see, ask. I'm always there for you guys. That's it for this week. Go do something wonderful, try something new, and be sure to blame your joy on someone. I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.